Let me conclude at this point by noting that if fish is not preserved properly, it becomes a house for maggots. We are talking of demonic conduct, jealousy, envy, witchcraft, manipulation. Why? The preservation process was not properly done. The believer was not matured. So there's a lot of immaturity in the body. And that's why we are seeing all kinds of evil things happening, even amongst Christians, where some Christians are involved in rape, kidnapping, drugs, and so on and so forth. And some of them are even pastors. Go and check. They were not properly discipled. And because of this maggot infestation, the fish begins to smell, stink, a horrible smell. That's what is happening today. Many ministers are sending forth a stinking odor. They are unpleasant people to be around. The way they talk, you will not believe that these are pastors or ministers of the gospel. Brethren, as fishers of men, we must understand that catching these men is only the beginning of a long process that includes preparation, preservation, and presentation to God for his purpose for those people's lives. We must recognize that as fishermen, we are servants of the living God to bring men to God, not to ourselves, not to our denomination, not to our churches. So we must bring them in and build them up. We must catch them and clean them. We must evangelize and disciple. We must introduce people to the word of God and instruct them in his ways. In other words, we must preach and we must teach. We do not do only one and leave the other. Having preached and the people have come in, we must now spend time like Barnabas, Paul, and the others did in Antioch that resulted in these people being called Christians. It is these teachings, building up or edification, cleaning, discipline, sanctification, instruction in the word of God. It is these things that bring about the transformation, the irreversible transformation of a sinner, a hardened sinner, to a saint of the living God. It was these things that transformed these disciples in Antioch, and they were called Christians. Let me say at this point in time that there is the need for the churches in the world today to revisit what they are doing and align themselves with the word of God. It is crucial that we must go back to preaching and teaching. Not just preaching, but preaching and teaching. We must go back to bringing men in and building them up. It's not enough to just bring them in and then turn them into a nursery of carnal beings. No, we must build them up. It is not enough to evangelize, to proclaim the gospel. We must disciple those who have been brought in. Seek help if need be, to bring in teachers who will teach the word of God. It is not enough to introduce people to the word of God, which is preaching the Christ to them. But they must be instructed in his ways, as the angel of the Lord challenged the disciples to go into the temple and to teach the people all the word of this life. We must preach and we must teach.